we want to be able to have that unbroken chain from thoughts to actions. What we think is what we actually do. And then our actions create habits, our habits create our character, and our character attracts a particular destiny. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about plans and why you should keep them to yourself if you really want to have the highest possibility of succeeding with your plans, and how all the most successful people keep their plans like closely guarded secrets. So we're going to dive in. But before that, my name is Yamuna. If you don't know who I am, I lived as a monk for many years in monasteries all over the world, dedicating my life to self-actualization and serving the community. I then founded Jivanam Ayurveda and Wellness, which is a holistic education company where we taught people body work and lifestyle principles of ancient India. And then now I founded Conscious Business Mastery, where we have hundreds of entrepreneurs who are coaches, course creators, retreat leaders, and who lead high-ticket trainings. And we get their missions to $1 million plus per year so they can just help way more people and have the financial means to be able to reinvest in their mission. So why I'm making this video is because obviously we're going into a new year. It's not the only reason. I think this is the eternal principle, but especially during the new year, people talk about their plans and their New Year's resolution and New Year, New Me, and all these sort of cliche sayings that really very, very few people follow through on. And at the time of recording this, it's January 16th. By the time you watch it, it may be beyond January 16th. And I think the statistic is that by January 17th, if you haven't taken action, you have an 8% chance of actually following through on your New Year's resolution. Right? So if you haven't done anything yet for your New Year's resolution, you have an 8% chance of following through for the year if you haven't done anything by January 17th. Now, that means 92% of people will fail their New Year's resolution, which is, wild. And I make this so that you aren't one of those, and so that whether it's New Year's or any time of the year, really, that you can make plans and actually keep them and actually make them happen. Because there's a science to it that not really anybody speaks about that I want to lay out for you in this video. So the very first thing I want to talk about is why you shouldn't tell people about your plans out loud. You can make plans in your head, in your heart, you can write things down, but why you shouldn't tell people out loud is because, one, you get the dopamine hit of the excitement of that plan when you tell other people about your plan. And to your brain, it signals that it has already been done because you're getting the dopamine reward of recognition and talking about it from another person. And all your neurons start firing and you basically get the reward of having done it, which then decreases the contrast and the drive to need to actually do it. So just like when you're planning a vacation, most of the dopamine that you get is in planning the vacation and not actually in the vacation itself. You're looking up all the places, you're looking up all the flights, you're looking at all the fun things that you're going to do, you're looking at photos on Google, and you get all this dopamine hit. And then, sometimes my parents come back from vacation, they're like, yeah, it was so stressful and like not that fun, whatever. Maybe they're just doing it wrong. But as a general principle, most people get pleasure from the planning rather than actually the executing and the doing of the thing itself. So don't allow yourself to do that, because you want to keep your plans like closely guarded gems, right? You don't show diamonds to everyone. You don't show, hey, here's my diamonds, here's my diamonds, here's my diamonds. And then you get all this hype of people around you. Oh my God, look at how great this person is, and like all the wonderful things that they're planning on doing. And then now you have this extra, pressure of actually being able to execute because you have already set that expectation within your community. Another great reason to keep it to yourself is because when you talk about doing big things, people may be confronted by those big things. Now, of course, that's not exactly your problem, right? You might say, I have these big goals for my health or my business or whatever. And, some people might feel jealousy, comparison, envy towards you. You want to mitigate that as much as possible, right? When you just carry something out to its completion and then you show people once everything's done and all the hard work has been gone through, then you become a person of your word rather than just someone who has a lot of hypey ideas and, wonderful things that they're planning on doing. And all of us know people like that who just start a lot of projects and they just talk about a lot of things, and yet they have very little evidence to show. And each time they do that, they're essentially breaking trust with themselves and with their own word, because what we want to have is a high say to do ratio. So what we say is what actually, we follow through on and what actually ends up happening. And there's so many principles out there to look at, like our thoughts form our actions form our habits form our character, and our character attracts a particular destiny. And so, what we speak is there. It's our thoughts spoken out loud. And so we want to be able to have that unbroken chain from thoughts to actions. What we think is what we actually do, right? And then our actions create habits, our habits create our character, and our character attracts a particular destiny. But when you say things and you don't actually do them, your word begins to have less and less and less and less potency. And so all of the ancient shastras or wisdom texts on dharma or right ways of being and the king's codes and how these high-level leaders would act was that they were basically unbreakable from their word. Whenever they said something, it was exactly what happened. And part of that is like not just saying things and actually doing them, but withholding your commitment to particular things because you're just real about what you can commit to. Right? If you know that your capacity is only a 6 out of 10 and that this thing that you say you want is something that's going to require 8 out of 10, like just don't actually commit to things that you're not 100% going to follow through on. Rather, it's better to commit to less things and actually follow all of them through, right? Like, for instance, with a to-do list, you could have like 20 items on there each day and only do 10 of them. And then I've told some of my coaching clients, well, like, why not, instead of having 20 things, you just put 10 things and you do all 10? And they're like, well, then, like, how are the 20 going to get done? And I'm like, well, they're not getting done anyway, right? So you're just making this promise of these 20 items, but then you're only doing 10. And then you're breaking the power of your word and feeling like you're failing each day because you're not actually living up to the expectation that you set for yourself on that list and in your mind and heart. And that becomes degrading and demoralizing as you go. So rather put 10 things, the other 10 weren't getting done anyway, do all 10 of them. And then as you follow through, you can increase your capacity to commit to things. But in the beginning, this exercise of not telling people your plans or, committing to less might be about reducing your commitment load than increasing your activity and just like becoming like this superhuman person that can always do everything, because it's a muscle that has to be trained over time. It's not just like your capacity to be who you say you are is something that can just be, poof into thin air or, just appear out of nowhere. So this is something I encourage you to do. Don't commit to anything more than what you can actually do. Keep your to-do list very small. Keep your plans to yourself like diamonds that are sacred, that you don't want to show to somebody until they've been crafted into the most exquisite end product possible. And even then you can decide if you want to share or not. And you'll find that you're going to build that internal potency of who you say you are is actually who you are, rather than just putting on a front or a presentation and being seen in a particular way that you want to be seen, rather than actually being the person you want to be. So that's all I have for you in this video. I'd love to see your comments below. I read all of the comments personally and reply to all of them personally. So I'd love to hear any of your thoughts on these principles and you keeping your plans to yourself or any other things along this line of thought. So I hope you like this and see you in the next video.